Welcome back to Sports Check this morning. And it is the day when Kenya plays against Togo, and this is in an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, 7 p.m. It's going to be live on KBC Channel 1, and this is a Group G qualifier for the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. We get into a third interview segment, and we're speaking football again this time around, but it's speaking to two gentlemen who were mentored by the late Joe Kadenge, and they've had conversations for quite some time and trying to bring back the memories of this man who was a player, he was a coach, he was also a team manager at the Harambee Stars and also administrator at the highest level. I've got Atanas Obango. Welcome, KBC Channel 1 again. Thank you. Kasim Nasa, pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And I'll start, with Kasim. Joe Kadenge, the man, and when by the time in your formative years and the Kadenge Cup that existed, what was the impact of that tournament to young footballers?
Very immense, huge, and by then you could not understand the concept of the tournament, but later on in life it came to involve itself around us. Because it was a tournament where we had room to interact with other people from other areas, other horizons. Being a youth, football is something that will make you go traverse across the country, irrespective of any other sport out of then during our time. Other sports came on later in life, but football was our bane of living. You had to use that as an excuse. Any time that even your own parents could hear that you're going to play football, which cup was this? Joe Kadenge. Everyone knew about Joe Kadenge. Every corner of our country, it was a matter of who? Joe Kadenge. So it's something whereby even your own father could even have something to go and gloat about. My son was in the Joe Kadenge Cup. Unasikia, he plays Joe Kadenge. That's something which we all used to look forward to. Of course, it used to have a pre-qualification option of the weights, whereby it used to be 50 kgs. So some of us used to go through a very horrendous time. This tournament was being played at Nairobi School. You live in an area like Ngara. You weigh around 52. You have to run from Ngara all the way to Nairobi School. By the time you reach there, your weight has kind of gone down. You hope the measurement will be done the time you're entering the pitch. So it used to be something in which we always used to look forward to. School holidays was something that you could always think of, nothing else. It was just a matter of football. But without Joe Kadenge Cup, there was no other football around.
And as you also played this and you were mentored through this system, what is it that this kind of tournament, was so important for you young players, not just as a pastime and the gloating, but for the development of players, and considering that they had already put a minimum weight marker, 50 kilos.
To me, it's a great honor to be privileged to chair the tournament, as I'm the chairman of the tournament. And looking back at Joe Kadenge, is a man that I highly respect, and is a man we looked upon as budding footballers. As we grew up, we looked at Joe Kadenge as our role model, other than any other Kenyan player. There were so many players, Umachege, but Kadenge was a name that you could not get out of your mind. So he's a man that he mentored us, and I remember in 1993 when there were these selections for the first youth team to travel to Korea. He was a team manager, and Jonathan Nyuba was a coach. So it's like we were going there for trials, and when we went there, we were told that, oh, you guys are over age. This is for the under 14. By then, I was around 17 years. That instinct of let me just go and try. Maybe I could be selected, but the Mzee sat us down and told us, you guys, if there's something for the under 17 and under 18. We will consider you, but for this one, it's strictly an under 14 category.
All right, and by the way, because that seems to be a problem, how did under 17s or basically under 20s end up at an under 14 tournament?
You see, it's like you just feel like, let me go and try. Probably, you try to cheat to be able to be, and that is the mentality. Before you see, as a young man, you want instant success. So it is something that was happening, but Jonathan Nivo was a very strict man, Joe Kadenge was a very strict man, and they ended up coming up with the correct age, and I think they went to Korea and even won the tournament. That time, it was the first time a youth team was traveling out of the country to go and represent.
Charles Omondi got a name there.
Yes,
Korea got a name.
there.
There's so many players who played there. We had Charles Omondi, Bila Odongo, Okwaraji, we have the late Mailu, we have so many players, Joseph Weke, Rogers Kadenge, Patrick Kisanya. Those are names that were, that the players who, they ended up playing in the Premier League, and most of them, they played top flight, they even played for the national team. So if you look at Kadenge, I think so many people passed through him, and is somebody that we should always cherish every moment we had the opportunity to be with him.
Now, let's move on now to the organizational aspect. And Kasim, when you're trying to organize a tournament like this,
yes,
one of the things that always happens is when you're trying to organize a memorial,
yes,
you have to look for the right players,
yes,
the right venues,
yes,
and also using the right avenues, officials, and that.
Yes.
Let's start with the format that you want for the tournament.
We looked at it tentatively speaking, and unfortunately, we always have one hindrance, especially in our country: lack of playing pitches. So we sat down and we came to realize is that when you want to do something better, somebody said what? Charity begins where?
Start at home.
So the best option was what? School fields. With school fields during school holidays, they're hardly ever used. So we looked around, looked at the region, and we even thought in terms of where did Mzee come from? South B. Which is the nearest school around there? Highway. So the minute we walked in there, in fact, the principal was ecstatic about it. Joe Kadenge Memorial, yes, we have the pitches here. The only thing that was there was for us to reach down a compromise between us and them about hiring the pitch, making sure the pitch is not accommodated during the period time of the tournament. So it was far more easier. Because when you start thinking in terms of like the stadium and whatnot, there will be inconvenience of other people coming in and whatnot. But with the school, you can never go wrong. And with that, our concept has been that when you start from the school, our aim, this is the incept of it.
Yes.
Our aim is first and foremost to even go back to the schools. Because as we knew about the tournament through the school, before he really stepped out. And when you look at it, most of organizations in terms of federations, they hardly have a stepping podium for people under 16 and under 14. Right now,
I'll be coming to that.
Yes.
I'll be coming to that.
Yes. So right now, our concept is going to that level, starting from the secondary school, because we'll be able, accessibility will be easier. Managing the teams will be even far more easier. So in terms of logistics, it won't be something which is beyond people's element. Yes.
The size of the tournament, what's the scope? How many teams do you want?
I think what we did is that we identified the academies within Nairobi and two outside of Nairobi, because we realized that if we open up the tournament, we might be overwhelmed with the number of requests and teams that want to participate. So we basically sat down as a committee and came up with an idea of let's identify academies, existing academies. That you see, we want to work with people who have structures, because some of the rules we have is that we must produce some documents. So with these structured academies, they could be having these documents. So it will be easier to manage the tournament with structured teams.
So which are the teams, the academies that you've identified in Nairobi?
We are going to have a tournament of 32 teams. For the under 14 category, we have 16 teams, and for the under 16 category, we have 16 teams. And then we have the category for the girls. We will have girls also playing in the tournament. We've identified within the regions of Nairobi, we have identified 8 teams from the academies. We will be able to participate because this is a start. We just want to see what the response is and what we can get out from the first tournament. But because we want it to be an annual event, and later on we want to look at possibility of working in collaboration with the schools, so that we can also be accommodated in the school calendar.
So let's talk about these academies. Kasim, which are some of the academies that you would identify for this especially those dealing with the under-14s and the under-16s, for boys and girls?
Yeah, the good thing nowadays, networking becomes easier. And most of us are people who we always collide at one given time or the other. So it was far more easier getting coordinators. Look at people around, because they're people whom we know. Someone comes from this region, reach out. This region, reach out. You find on a good pedestal, we always have academies on almost all the regions around Nairobi. So it was far more easier. Someone comes up, we tell them the relations we're looking at, and the setup that we want. What you didn't want is just a ragtag team that is made up of people. No. You want somewhere by the end of the day, you know, we're trying to cut off the logistics of someone telling us, my son came to a tournament, we don't know what's happening. That kid has to come from a particular academy, whereby there's someone who's answerable to that question. So it was far more easier, because nowadays technology has really advanced us. In our days, there was no technology. You had to go to school. Once you get there, the parent will only see you in the evening.
Technology was, it was there, it's only that we do, it's not the kind of technology we're talking about. Telephone and a fax, a booth and a neighbor's telephone was serious.
That was serious. That was
if you called your neighbor's home and said, wait, I'm stranded, call my father.
Yes, exactly.
How many neighbors had?
How many had?
That is a
booth. So on our side, it was far more easier identifying. Then the good thing, because we are so much into football on the lower scale, not on the higher scale. Because when you look at it, our committee is made up of people whom we might not even have seen, apart from our chairman. Chairman has always been around. Some of us are people who know us on the field of football. So it was reaching out, it became easier. Do you have a team here, this category, we want to invite you? We send out the letters. They read them, they give us a feedback. It was far more, it even went faster than we really anticipated. That's why we had to kind of keep it on a lower scale. Because when you really blow it outside, we could end up having like over 100 teams. On a 2-day event, it will be tentatively overwhelm us beyond the capacity that we're expecting at.
What are these things that you require from parents or from academies to identify a child? Because, I mean, the whole issue, child protection is something that you have mentioned.
Yes.
So how do you bring in, for example, if it's the under-14s, how do you have the academy identify each one of them?
See, what we've asked is we've asked for the birth certificates and probably the school living certificate for the under-14 and the under-16, because age, to determine age sometimes becomes a problem. But you see, the reason why we went for academies, because if we had gone for just bring teams under, then we could have had an headache in terms of trying to sort out the age issue. Maybe somebody has surpassed his age by maybe 1 or 2 months, and you know what I'm telling, arguing something, 1 month difference, it becomes a big issue. So
well, actually, I think in football, I mean, they allow you, if you're turning 18 within this calendar year, they can tell you by the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean,
so we have put up the dates that are the requirements, and we were very particular in terms of the academies we are inviting, because you know there are so many commercial academies around nowadays. And these are commercial academies. People. The objective is not even development of the game. It's about getting money from parents and whatever. So we said we'll not have those academies. We'll just go for the academies that are existing, non-commercial academies, whereby nobody is charged money to be able, and that is where the talent is.
So you've mentioned about the regions and these academies. Tell us about the regions, as you're calling them in Nairobi. Because I think Nairobi has, 17 constituencies even.
Okay, what we did is just we identified the previous boundaries, the 8 regions of Nairobi.
Or the 8 former constituencies.
The former constituencies, yes. So we ensured that we have 2 teams from each region. Yeah. So that makes it for both categories, it makes it 32.
Yes.
And it was also very easy, because already we have people coordinating from each region. So we have 8 coordinators in the 8 regions. So each coordinator was providing us with the name of the team that he feels like, and it was after several meetings. That's how we came up with this concept of having only 32 teams. So part of the thing is that we want to ensure that we want to also curb age cheating in terms of people coming to present themselves, because after the tournament we are going to do a selection. We are going to have teams traveling to Sweden, because one of the co-founders of the idea of the Kadenge Memorial Tournament is Charles Nzao. He's based in Sweden, and he is going to organize for a few invites for players we are going to select here, because we just want to show that something can happen even outside the federation or whatever.
So, when it comes to this 32-team tournament, how are you going to run it? Because there's 16 for the under 14, 16 under 16, under 17 or under 16, so to speak. What's the format you're going to have to run for a 2-day tournament?
Basically, we're keeping it on an open forum, like a round robin structure, but we don't want to overwhelm them. Our idea will try and cut down on the time spent per game. You know, you can't given the time limit of 45 minutes.
Yes.
They'll get overwhelmed. These are young people. If you tell them to play like 4 games of 90 minutes, they'll be overwhelmed the following day. Make it exciting, whereby they can play for 25 minutes, they get excited about it. Our aim is try to bring in more stakeholders to make sure that there are small entertainments which are going on. You know, the more you make it entertaining, for the better. We're not curtailing anyone. You want, as a parent, as a cheering squad, come on board. Let it be something like a fun fair, something to outlet the frustration of the kids. 14 is someone who's done what? Classic.
From standard 8.
Classic.
This is standard 8,
exactly.
Form 1.
16 is between Form 2 and
Form 3.
Form 3. That's someone who is energetic, hyper. That's then, you know, that's the age that we always tend to forget about mentorship. We've had that issue about mentorship. Some of us had mentors. Who was that? Mr. Kadenge. Kadenge, you know, he was the colonial type.
Yes.
He'll meet you. The first thing he'll do, you're doing something wrong, he's going to smack you. Then come home and beat you up with him and your dad. Yeah, he used to be the father of the community. So that mentorship was there. You could see him, you end up doing whatever doing, he was mischievous, you had to straighten it out. Now, these young ones that we're having at the moment right now, whom we all have as parents, that mentorship is a bit lacking. There's that element of telling them, after this, what happens? That's why we also need to try to bring in, afterwards, we try and bring in the issue of the football management. We will have issues that someone has reached the epic of going outside.
Yes.
Who manages him? No one. Was there any mentorship in between? No one. So we try to break in between the under 14 and under 16. There's that gap of trying to ingrain in them their bringing, how we are brought up. We also try to make sure people who we know, who are also good former footballers, ex-internationals. You know, if a kid goes there and he sees someone like, oh, this so and so, recognition comes up. That's what you want to do. You know, things have been so fast that recognition of some of the players have not been there. And our aim is to reach out to even to other sports.
Well, Kasim, I would have interrupted you, but you were speaking about life skills, and it's holidays.
Yes.
Sorry to have interrupted you, so I'll let Atana speak about the format. You've got 16 teams, so he mentioned that you'd be playing for shorter.
Yeah, we've decided that we reduce the time because we also were privileged to have a highway secondary school as almost close to 4 pitches, which will be easier for us to be able to manage. And for the other under 14, I think we are going to try and reduce the time. But it's going to be, we are going to divide the teams in pools, in 4 pools, so 4 each. So we'll be very specific which ground is going to be used for the under 14s and which one is going to be used for the under 16s and also for the girls tournament. So from that we intend to ensure that by the first day we are done with the preliminaries. Then the following day we can go to the knockouts, and then we have the final. And also he has talked about mentorship. We intend to have a special tent. We are going to invite several former players, and also we are in the process of mobilizing all those people who played the Kadenge Cup during those years to come and support the initiative.
So, by the way, let me just, you've interested in me, because I'll be coming back to the mentorship, because there's a whole holistic thing about a player. Yeah. But from what you say is a 3-day, so you want the group phase matches, that's about 3 of them done in a day.
Yeah. No, because we've made our calculations right in terms of time and whatever. So we'll specific for the under 14, we intend even to reduce the time so that they don't burn out. Yeah, this is we are having a meeting on Wednesday. We're going to finalize on all the aspects of time and whatever. And once you're done with that, we'll be able to look at the time. The most important thing is that teams have to keep time so that we start early. So
what happens to a team that doesn't keep time? Because we are very lenient. I mean, to us, time is elastic.
We have the rules.
We have the rules.
We have the rules.
What are the rules?
The rules that you fail to appear on time, you
forfeit the game.
You forfeit the game.
And the points are
it. So the teams are very, very much aware of that, and so we want to ensure that by 8 o'clock we are off.
Yes.
On the 7th.
Well, 8 a.m.
Yes.
on the 7th of December.
Yes.
You miss the bus, and that's it. Yes. The bus won't stop for you. Atanas Obango and Kasim Nasser, speaking about this, there is the other part of the football ecosystem, officiating.
Yes.
Where do you get the right officials who will earn the respect, and also over time, so that these young upcoming footballers can learn to respect match officials? We've seen crazy incidences. I mean, match officials being attacked, not being respected, because you're either an administrator, a player around that pitch, but if you have no respect for the match official, then your career is basically being put on a stop permanently.
I think we have people in charge of the refereeing aspect for the tournament, and we intend to have takes the clubs through the rules and regulations, and also the consequences of maybe causing trouble and whatever. So this is a youth tournament. We have to ensure that these boys are growing up knowing that football is played under rules, and also there are some things that cannot be allowed to happen in football. So this is as part of also our mentorship program. We want to make sure that these young boys, they know why they are playing football. They know that football has to be violence free. They must know that. They have to respect the officials. They have to respect fellow players. And also we want to ensure that we don't have a situation whereby also it will be matches will have a lot of injuries or whatever. Although we have put measures in place to ensure that nobody is, we have the medical part of is taken care of. But refereeing is a major aspect in football, and we intend to have some of the best guys around, hoping that we'll not have problems with our friends from the federation. But we want to ensure that nobody interferes with the activities of our father and our legend, Joe Kadenge.
All right. Now, Kasim, I'd like you to speak about player mentorship, because we've seen players leave this country, go play out there. One, they suffer culture shock, or they basically, the kind of exposure and the kind of things that happen to them are things that don't happen, for example, in Kenyan football. You leave the country, go join a club, they give you a house and a car, so that you take the car, go train, go back to the house and rest. But now they decide it's party after party. And their careers come to a close. Others suffer culture shock. You can't adapt to the culture of the country and things like that. How are you mentoring these youngsters, preparing them for these things?
The good side about that, some of us have been outside the country. We know how it is like outside there. We are also going to bring in people who played football in Kenya, and they were ex-internationals, or they played to the national level, and they went outside. They come in and they give in their first-hand experience, what goes on. Culture shock to anyone comes, however prepared you are. Leave alone this issue of someone telling you go to America, it's made up of gold and whatnot. There's a culture shock. We Africans, we are too Africans. When I say that, not in a bad context, when I see Obango on the street, I'll go and say hi. In Europe, it's totally different. Everyone is busy doing their work, their issues. Now, the mentorship is when you hear it firsthand from people who've been outside, and those ones who are still living outside, they come and give you what to expect from outside. Because here we are used to the element of, I won't stand and buy, Obango, you got an yokolea. There's nothing of that sort. You have your issue, your discipline is what matters. We've got people whom we know personally. People who came out from there, they went there, after 2 weeks tells you, this is a culture shock. No one is talking to me, I'm feeling lost, tell him now you have to adjust to it. After a few months, you call, he tells you, I'm used to it. Understand. Do your thing, go back home. Don't think of going to visit anyone. In Europe, it's not like here. I'll come out of my house, drive to Obango's place, Now can tell me, nimekuja kutembelea. In Europe, it works the other way around. You have to book an appointment, even to your own mother. You don't just walk into her. She doesn't walk into you. So that's a culture shock that we're trying to instigate into the kids, that they have to realize we've got people whom we can mention, people who have made names in the world. Where they came from, even them, they had that culture shock. It's adapting to it that really matters. Same as when you come from primary, you've never been to a boarding school. When you go there, it's bound to be a culture shock. The first thing you think it's what? It's a prison. Yeah. Because you can't go out, you can't do anything. Now in football, the prison is what? The discipline. First, what matters to us, the mentorship, is to try to tell them everything in football is discipline. And you have to respect yourself, because football is not made under influence of substances, under influence of threatening, or under influence of thinking you're bigger than anyone else. No. It has to be played on the pitch with your feet. Remembering it's a team effort, 11 players.
Now, Atanas, something else that I've noticed over the years is that, and it's the sad part of Kenyan football, the way these youngsters are handled, especially at secondary school level, the footballers. They're treated like, I don't know, senior deputies, assistant teachers, because they're there for the football, just to give the school a good name in football. But they've got all the freedom they want. And like Kasim has mentioned, when they come out, they realize that nobody really gives you the kind of freedom. And so you find that they break down. How do you prepare them such that some of them may be on holiday and they're used to having their way? These are the realities, and such that there is some form of continuity from age grade to and schools football into club football.
You see, also, what I would like to say about that is that it's also very wrong to give special treatment to any student. You see, when you go to school, you are just a student like any other. If you are excellent in other extracurricular activities, that is your talent. But at the end of the day, there's no special class for footballers. You just attend class like
every math class.
So that is, you're right, because when this player comes out, finishes his school, he comes out there, he realizes that it's very different from, the treatment is very different from what he was getting in school, simply because the approach was wrong. Treat this kid as just any other ordinary student, and also ensure that he plays by the rules of the school. There's no, okay, I remember we were footballers playing in school, we were being given special diet, what was it, like gidere, sisi tunakula kanyama, nyama, something like that, simply because we are footballers. So for us, we didn't realize what awaits out there. So after playing, after playing for the national, for the school team, excelling well, and then you come out there and you find out that, oh, I was just a star in school. I'm no longer a star outside here. So life becomes difficult. So I still have that ego that I still believe I'm still in school. No, once you are done with school, you're done with school. You are out there, now you have to adapt to what is out there, what's outside there.
And another aspect that everyone talks about is how do you keep it continuous? Because if you do it in December, then there are 2 other holidays. They may be short, but there is some aspect of continuity that people want in football. Rather than have something that's a tournament, you'd rather have a league format or a knockout format.
I think what you're looking at, this is an inaugural tournament. This is the first thing we are doing it. And from this, we'll just do our post-mortem and look at what the pros and cons of having it, and also look at the future of because we don't want just to do something once and then the following year it is not there. Because we also, right now, we don't have sponsors. We're only depending on a few individuals in the diaspora and also locally. We have approached several guys to come as help us start it. But looking at if the success of the tournament will push us to have maybe something maybe in April or in August, but we want to make it an annual thing so that every year everybody knows. And also we want to make it a very big thing. We want to ensure that even in the future we want to invite teams from outside Nairobi, not just Nairobi alone. We want to identify academies within the country so that they can also have the feel of playing in the Kadenge tournament.
Any costs to the participating teams that they must know, that you've already put out to them?
You see, teams are used to paying for tournaments, and I remember Mzee very well that even his mentorship programs, he was not charging anybody to listen to him.
Yes.
So why should we charge people, teams to pay for? And we are following the legacy of Mzee Kadenge, and we want to ensure that the tournament, we have invited the teams. There's not even a single penny is being paid. The organizers, we are looking for funds to ensure that the tournament is run successfully. So we don't want a situation whereby somebody will come and say that I pay this money and what. No. That's why we say it's free, and we invited the teams. The only thing that is going to be also trying to see if we can get other corporates to come on board, maybe to provide some maybe snacks and whatever. But it's free. For all those who are going to participate, it's going to free. You're not going to even pay a shilling. Just avail yourself on the first day and play football.
Now, the Kadenge family,
Yes.
So many people around them.
Yes.
So, sporting names.
Yes.
Esther Kavaya,
Yes.
Kenyan athlete. John Anzra.
Yes.
He was at the African Games, won a silver and a full by, I think, all that time.
Yes.
The sons, the daughters.
Yeah.
How are you involving the family in this tournament that carries the Kadenge name?
In fact, before we came up with the ideas some 2 years ago, we had contacted the family, and for now, even Rogers Kadenge, one of the sons, is part of the committee that is organizing the tournament. So the family is fully aware of what we are doing, and we have their blessings. And in fact, we want to ensure that they all be there on the launch and also on the material day when the tournament kicks off. So we have the blessing of the family, and it's always a privilege to work with the family of Kadenge, because I had the opportunity to work with Esther Kavaya. I worked with John Anzra, now the defunct Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. So we always used to meet during the Kikoso Games, and also I ended up working with John Anzra's son, Eddie. So it's a family that some of us will be very, very close to them, so that they believe that we are going to execute something that is going to be remembered.
And something that won't be. Kasim, tell us legacy programs that you would want to continue, the little things outside of the tournament.
Other than the football, Mzee used to have a slogan that we used to have. He used to tell us, football is life, but there's life after football. Whereby after the limelight has been switched off, there's life that you have to do, pick up, and you move ahead. So the legacy, that's why the mentorship comes in. After the football, our emphasis is one, you can't play football and you're not educated. Same as some other sports. You might be very good, the way you brought the issue of special treatment. No, ours is going to be totally different. Your educative academics must be also matching your football skills, because the world has already changed. Without that academic achievement, you'll be no one. After football, what happens? So our aim, that's why we said this is the youth tournament starting on a holiday, Kadenge. Yes. Then we shall crop into the schools. That, of course, the ones who are going to feature this December, they'll also be in those schools. Reach out to those schools. It ends up being something whereby it will be conclusively, we hope in between will be growing. That's why you see we identify 14 and 16. Not 16 or 17 or 18. So 16 or 18, we'll be having a backlash of big teams. As we want to mentor these ones, how they should be able to understand, if you play this tournament, we'll come to your school next time. They'll go and spread the marketing for us. I played in Kadenge, so they're coming to our school next time. In between there, we shall also bring in the authorities concerned, the school boards and whatnot, which will be far more easier. Some of us went through that. Yes. That's why Chairman mentioned, we played Kadenge, we went through Korea. Some of us, we are privileged to have played for that one. The tournament we choose to play. That's why holidays, it used to be easier. You mentioned about April and August. We used to have tournaments, but they all got swept away because we didn't have people who were concerned about it. So maybe now, this is the time that the idea cropped up to us. which has been growing in terms of networking and teamwork. So we hope in between there, we shall end up having a legacy that will keep on growing in numbers, but under a guideline that is far more better being quantified, rather than having what? Quantity. Let's have quality over quantity.
Dates, operating times for the tournament.
We are starting on the 7th, 7th of December, and we'll end on the 8th of December. So all the teams that have been invited have to be at Highway Secondary by 7 on the 7th, and also we'll have a pre-tournament meeting before that with the teams, and also we'll have an official launch, which will also invite the media to come and witness. And then by 7th, it's all systems go.
Yeah, have good luck having teenagers wake up at 5 a.m.
During
the holidays, teenagers are known to wake up at 11. Yes, Kasim Nasa
Yes.
and Atnas Bango, thank you very much. Speaking about the Joe Kadenge Cup, and they're speaking about the legacy of the late Joe Kadenge, they're involving the family and making sure that the youngsters who are in Kenyan football do enjoy that football, get mentored and prepared for life after school. It can't be easy. The moment you finish school, that's when you realize things can be tough. Well, we'll be moving on, and just before I depart,